There he is.
Are we happening?
I think we are
Actually
happening
happening.
now. No problem, bro. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time. Well, I'm just going to get started by saying that I've known your work for quite a while. I'm a fan of your originality, and I definitely dig artists like that that don't need to imitate so much. Of course, we all need to learn by imitation until a certain point in our lives. But I definitely appreciated that you created your line, by not being afraid of doing the fusion that you do, and not being afraid of not having to commit to totally the pure just copying. Some people try to sound like Paco for their entire lives, and I definitely dug that you created the I in Portuguese would pronounce Flametal. I'm not sure if Flametal is, that's probably how you say it, right?
You're right on both.
And I really enjoyed a couple of your videos, especially that was called Holy Wars. I really liked the rhythmic approach that you applied to that, sort of in the line between rock and using the flamenco technique. And I also enjoyed, for example, the tarantula, where in the middle of it you did this kind of a rumba that I had never seen it being done. And of course, I was immediately drawn to learn it, the style of strumming. So yeah, man, I really appreciate your style. I think it's very original. You definitely bring something to the table. So I'd like to ask, first of all, what's the story behind you? I read something a little bit about you, but I would like for you to just speak about your background.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Do I say Felipe or?
Yeah.
Okay, Felipe. It's totally an honor to be here, and I can't tell you how nice it is to be appreciated for doing some of the weird things that I do, because as we know in flamenco, there's a lot of gatekeepers, I guess is what they call them now. Like flamenco police, and there's and I'm pretty much just putting my middle finger up to all of them in a way, in a respectful way, hopefully. So it's not often that I get a lot of people that do appreciate me taking chances and stuff. But I got started playing guitar, as you might have guessed, playing heavy metal. Like Iron Maiden basically was some of the first songs that I learned inside out. And, many years later, not too many, but when I did start studying flamenco, I realized that my left hand already knows what to do. Iron Maiden has already taught it what to do. My left hand already knew enough theory for flamenco from Iron Maiden, oddly enough. Seeing how the harmonic minor and the Phrygian is pretty much exactly the same if you change your key center. So it's like I kind of already knew what I was doing a little bit on the left hand. Just didn't know about the culture and the theory behind the music and all about compás, and obviously all the accompaniment and all that stuff. It's a fine art that I was very excited to learn much later. So it was the right hand that I had to get going. I started with the Iron Maidens. I learned all the rhythms. Then I started learning the solos. Never could quite get all the Adrian Smith stuff because it's still very challenging, but did my best. Then got into some harder stuff, Sepultura and Morbid Angel and stuff like that. Was in a band and everything like that. All my roommates were in bands. We were all in sort of like the Seattle sort of hardcore punk or death metal scene. It was kind of almost the same scene. The crusty.
Where are you from originally?
Seattle.
Seattle, okay. But you live in California now.
I live in California now. But yeah, was brought up in Seattle, grew up there and everything. So yeah, that scene, the crusty punk and death metal was kind of like together. So for some reason I was there. I don't know why. And good people, I guess, good friends. But lived in a house with all my friends. We needed a roommate. And so I found this guy. He seemed like a really cool guy. But it turned out I didn't know he was a junkie. So like heroin, you know? And the only way I found out is I came home one night, he was gone, all of his shit was gone. And so was my guitar. So was my amplifier.
Oh,
So were all the
oh.
out of my cabinet, everything music related, anything of money, value or whatever, it was gone. So I just had a you know, classical nylon string Spanish guitar to scratch around. It's, and I loved to practice. So I kept playing, you know, like death metal on the classical guitar. And I thought, oh my, this almost kind of sounds like that Spanish stuff. Maybe I should learn some of that while I'm
Wow.
saving up for my new electric rig, you know, and then when I get my rig back, I'll have an interesting style, and I won't just sound like everybody else, you know, all the Kirk Hammetts and everybody. I'll have a thing, you know. Well, I didn't ever get an electric guitar again until like 20 years later. So I just,
So that
yeah,
actually ended up being something, you know, an opening of a door, right?
it was an absolute positive thing. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I didn't know it at the time. But yeah,
Wow.
if I
That
could
is amazing.
meet the guy again, I would shake his hand and thank him and just give him a little punch in the stomach, you know?
So he disappeared.
Yeah, yeah. I never saw him again,
In,
which is good.
oh man. Wow, 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 wow. So I noticed, for example, in your technique in the Holy Wars video that you do very percussive rasgado. I noticed you start with the first fingers. Is that the way you always do the rasgueo, or you're doing it in that particular recording?
No, you have a very good eye, my friend. Very good eye. Yeah, this is yeah. I do it like this. So
Oh wow.
very
Okay.
slowly. By the time the pinky comes out, this guy's already back in. But yeah, I start with my index because, well, when I did start playing the flamenco, I didn't know that flamenco was what I wanted or what I liked. It was some Spanish guitar music, and I had gotten some cassette tapes of who was it? It was Carlos Montoya, who you know, it blew my mind. I didn't really realize at the time that all of his recordings were out of compás or anything, but we know that now. But he still was a mind-blowing player for back in the day. And I think I had a cassette tape of God Help Me, Otmar Liebert, and maybe one other or something. And so I had heard the rasgueado. Didn't know what it was, didn't know how to accomplish it, but I just figured, well, it's got to be like that, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, later I hit a wall, you know, and I couldn't really make any more progress on my own. So I did find a flamenco guitar instructor in Seattle, believe it or not, and he's fantastic, Marcos Carmona. He was fantastic for me, and he told me that I needed to, if I want to take this seriously, if I want to be taken seriously, I need to change my rasgueos to the normal way, you know.
Right.
And I did the best I could, but I'm also very stubborn, apparently. So, yeah, that didn't work. I just said, you know what? I can get him to sound just as good as you, even better. So why should I change? And he says, well, not better. And I said, well, oh yeah, let's go. So that's kind of how
Oh.
it's funny too, because at the time he's a very sweet man now, but at the time he had the tendency to be kind of an asshole, and in a way, so did I guess. I had a little chip on my shoulder, I guess. I don't know. And so I'll never forget. I had played my very first tablao show for the student dancers in the Peña Flamenca, Seattle. And I was playing, and I thought, man, what a great, cool accomplishment. I just played my first tablao show. I accompanied cante and baile in a live setting, and people clapped, and I didn't drop the ball, and I played in compás. It's just, you know, we were upstairs from the venue, and we were having a beer, and and he said to me, you know, Ben, you did a good job. You're a great musician, but you'll never be a flamenco guitar player. And I looked at it and I slammed my beer down. It went everywhere, you know, it just got everything wet. And oh man, I just got so angry and I just walked out of the bar and I
But
just told
why
my,
did he say that? Did it have to do with the direction of the rasgado
no,
technique you were using, or anything else, or what?
and he wasn't even trying to be a dick, honestly. He was just trying to say that, hey, you're a great musician and you're probably going to do some kind of awesome fusion with this, but you're probably not meant as the to do the traditional flamenco guitar route, you know, which, you know, accompany cante y baile and do tablaos and peñas and stuff like this, and maybe some theaters or whatever, but just, you know, do that. He said, because he has students that just want to get the flamenco flavor and then they move on. And I get that too, you know,
Right.
players or whatever, and that's totally cool. So he thought I was one of those guys, and I wasn't. I was totally in it for the long road. You know, I loved it. I just fell in love with the whole culture of flamenco, you know, and just everything about it. So yeah, I got pretty pissed off and walked out of the bar, and I just had a greater resolve after that. It's like, oh yeah, I'll show this guy. I'm really gonna get good at this, and I'm gonna be the fucking best I can be. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. I just kept playing for singers and dancers, and got as good as I could. I moved down to San Francisco area. You know, I lived in Oakland for about 10 years, and there's a very high level skill level of guitarists, singers, and dancers in that area as well.
I know. Do you know Jason McGuire?
Oh yeah, yeah. I took my fair share of lessons with him as well. He taught me some
He's,
really cool things. He's a very aggressive, very innovative player himself. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw a couple of videos of him in the past. I was pretty impressed. So is that your main objective as an artist still? Or do you feel like you took a baggage from that and you're running your own direction?
That's a good question. No, I definitely am not an accompanist anymore. Not because I got better or I'm too good for it or anything. There's still so much to learn, and I just realized that I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed doing my own stuff and inventing my
Hmm.
things and making my own songs and stuff. Like I just like, please don't make me have to play tientos. I just don't like it. Just don't want to do that. Or not another alegrias. Oh God. Oh, oh, here we go. Another alegrias. I just found myself like I can do it, but I just didn't love it. You know, the way I did when I was learning it. Because when you're learning something, it's all fresh and mysterious and exciting. You know, like I gotta figure this out. This is a weird puzzle, and I just need to figure out how. I need to. I can't stop until I figure out how it all works together, and then I can be good at it. You know, and then
Yeah.
yeah, and then once the mystery is kind of gone, you know, then I realized, oh, there's certain things I love and certain things I really kind of don't like at all. And I'm always being forced into doing these things I don't like. And we we don't have enough time on this earth to be forced into doing shit that we don't like. We gotta love,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Definitely
Absolutely.
love it all. So I kind of went my own way. And you're precisely right. You know, I did end up going my own way, and it's even better now because I'm able to take weird techniques or even, you know, kind of develop new techniques that nobody was doing, just whatever I want to do. And there's no right or wrong because it's all art, right? If I
Yeah, there you go.
if in flamenco though, there's definitely right and wrong, which I loved, and I do still love it. But I don't like how you can be wrong at something. You know what I mean? That's what I don't like. So for that, it was a little bit limiting. The rules. You know what I mean? But
Mm,
I have to learn the rules,
wow.
to buy them, and then break them. You know?
Yeah, I relate a lot to what you're saying. I relate a lot. I have a very similar. relationship with flamenco, where at a young age I was very into it, and I had to figure the mystery out. I played some tablao in the United States. I lived in Atlanta, and I played for the dancers there. And then back here in Brazil, I live in the southern city of Florianopolis, and I played quite a bit here. There's a bit of a community here, and then it's exactly the same. Like as I tried to enter the scene in Brazil, in the city of São Paulo, where it's bigger, they're more demanding. I felt like there was a lot of judgment, about who knows more, who is real gitano, and who isn't quite, and who's trying, and who is for real. And then I just got sort of turned off by that over time, and I began. I always was already, doing my own stuff. So I relate to you. There's a lot of this in flamenco. There's a lot of sort of a competition for who is the purest, And then, I was out of that. And I appreciate you doing that, because then we get to figure out, and we get the gift of you, rather than you trying to be something that maybe you will never be. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I'm saying none of us were born in Spain, neither me or you. And you have this whole baggage that if you never allowed yourself to go your own path, then you could have never found out that the mix of all your other history, because your life is not only flamenco, as you described in the beginning of the conversation. So there's something to be appreciated when you finally let yourself bring everything you are, onto the table. And that's what I see when I see your videos. I see something very original. I see like this guy obviously went through flamenco, deeply, but he didn't stay there, and he allowed himself to bring this whole extra baggage, So there's definitely something to be said about that, especially because it's like we're not Spanish, So if you try to, as I have for many years, try to sound absolutely Spanish, if you get to the point of maybe getting close to that, and you go to Spain, then you are just another guy. You know what I mean? So there's something to be appreciated. Now, I want you to talk about if you could maybe elaborate on the subject, because I did write, when I wrote about talking to you today, I wrote something about speaking about, I love philosophy, and I love philosophy applied to music and to career. Do you feel today like it was the right decision? What would you say about the philosophically bringing your own experience to the table? Would you feel like it was the right choice to have allowed yourself to find your identity, in a perspective of business and an artist? What could you say about that? Do you feel like it was the right choice? Do you feel like it took you longer? Not longer. I meant took you farther as an artist. And you know what I meant, longer, like you were able to achieve, to fly higher as an artist by letting go a little bit of that commitment to flamenco. Do you have something to say? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask you?
I think I do understand what you're trying to ask me. And, talking about this kind of stuff is, it's a slippery slope, because there's always going to be stuff that we regret from our past, like I'll tell you, the biggest thing that I regret from when I began my flamenco journey was that after a few years, I sort of just stopped playing electric guitar. I dropped the pick. I just stopped playing electric guitar and metal, and I just went full on, which was great because I was able to commit and learn what I needed to learn and get good at a higher rate. But of course, there's always going to be those regrets. But what about the guys that never stopped? Like Amir John Haddad, for instance. He never stopped playing his shred guitar, and so he can do that just as good as he can do flamenco, which blows me away already, and playing oud and all these other kinds of instruments that he's magnificent on, like he just kept it all the way up the whole time. Or like I split my art craft too. I was also doing illustrations um, for the music merchandise industry, so basically T-shirts, you know, like this metal
Hmm.
T-shirts and stuff. So I was doing that. I had a full-time job at times while I was in the flamenco scene or studying or whatever. And wouldn't it have been great if I was just a guitar player 100% of the time and did lessons and to supplement my income or something? Yeah, yeah. Maybe I regret that a little bit. Or do I regret the fact that I was working in the art department and then they asked me to be the art director and it would have changed my whole life trajectory? And then I would have been, bam, health insurance, house, car, you know, family problems, all that kind of stuff. You know, it would have totally changed my whole life's direction, and that wouldn't have been a bad thing either. That would have been an awesome thing. But I didn't. At that point, they asked me, "Do you want to be an art director?" And I'm thinking, you know, with a big salary and
What was that? Talk about that for a second. Was that in a university or
no, it
what?
was just at a screen printing shop in Oakland. But
Oh, the art director. Okay.
yeah, yeah. But we did all that. I mean, we were doing all the big shirts for the big bands, like, you know, like Misfits and all the bands like that. So, but I was like, you know, instead of even just and saying no and just keeping my job, instead, I'm just actually going to quit this job and I'm going to take guitar 100% of the time, even though I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent next month. I'm just going to do it. Fuck it. And so,
I relate.
yeah, yeah. So this is there's going to be what ifs, and maybe some of those there's going to be little regrets here and there, but I don't know if I regret anything because I've had a fantastic life and I've met some fantastic people because of the different choices that you make and stuff, and and yeah, I really don't want to regret anything. I often think, what if, you know, that would have been an interesting thing, but no, I think that as long as we follow the little voice in our gut and let that decide more than what's in our head, I think that that's always going to be the right decision. And so
Mm.
the flamenco thing is just, I still love flamenco and I still perform it often. Not often, but when I know that it's going to be fun, when I know I'm going to be working with like Arlene Hurtado or some other musicians and dancers and singers that I know we're just going to get along great. We're going to have a good time. There's going to be no judgment or anything weird. It's just, we're all going to get paid well, you know, it's like, then yeah, I want to do it, but no more scraping by and doing a bunch of crap that I don't want to do. And that is what I wish that I didn't do when I was younger. I wish I charged more. I wish I didn't do all the scrape and buy crap that I didn't really want to do. I wish I didn't do the gigs that I thought, oh, this will be good for me, when it was actually not good for me at all. I didn't learn anything. It
Mm.
just had a devastating effect on me, you know? So
Like
sometimes
what? Like what type of situations were that?
sometimes you play, you work with people, and then at the end of the show, you just want to cry. And instead of hanging out and like having a glass of wine with everybody, you just get in your car and you go home and you're just like, ah, fucking played like shit. This was all fucked up. They fucked the lights up on me. They all the sound got what's up with that feedback, motherfucker? You know what I mean? And it's like it's more damage than it does good. I don't learn anything from that other than
I see.
I'm not going to do that with those people again. Do you know what
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
So
mean?
about the scene
That's it.
there, let's talk about like before the pandemics, and hopefully it's how it's going to go back to being like um, in the scene. Did you? What were your main activities that you were doing? Mainly playing like tablao, or mainly playing as your own music as an artist? Did you get out of California a lot? Like, where did you circulate? Is that a word in English? Circulate? Guess it is.
Yeah, yeah,
So
great.
what was the scene like to you? What were you doing mainly? Your own music or mainly flamenco? How was the business? scene? How did you fit on it or in
Okay,
it?
that's a great question, and it's pretty easy to answer. I'm not doing a whole lot different during the lockdown than I was before. Honestly,
Mm.
I do make a lot of music and videos here at home in Long Beach, and then I make the scores to those videos, and if anybody wants to learn them, they can purchase and download. So there's I do make a little bit of money off of that. Um, and I did have some regular gigs, like at a hotel resort on the coast, every Friday and Saturday, and then I switched to just Fridays, and it was just playing in a restaurant, playing background music, and I liked it because it paid well and it kept my chops up every week. But it was also a little bit. I had been doing it at the same place for 5 years, so it was dragging on a little bit. It's getting kind of boring. I'm running out of material that I've just played a million times, and it's kind of like all of my songs were starting to become boring to me. All of my music was just starting to become tedious because I have to cycle through it. 3 hours on Friday and 3 hours on Saturday. I don't like to repeat myself, so I just keep playing new stuff. And so that was kind of a drag, but I mean, I was thankful to have a gig. I was. And I did do some touring. The year right before the pandemic, I toured in Mexico, and usually tour every year in Europe with my friend Thomas Feisen, who's a classical fusion guitar player, classical heavy metal guitar player in Europe. And we drive all around Europe in an Ortega Guitars van. They let us use their van, and we, for our signature guitars, and we just drive all around Europe and just do gigs every night. It's fantastic. And when I was in Mexico, I was with these two guys, a group called Flamenco, which is, I guess, translates into flamenco, and they're fantastic. And I just had a great time there. And then, of course, I do these Monsters of Rock cruises. So it's kind of like a floating rock festival, you know. And so I'm looking at the poster here. I mean, there's all these kind of like, I would say, 80s bands, like
But when you did that, you were still using the nylon string?
oh yeah, definitely. See, the gig with that was, first it was my group called Heavy Mellow, which is me and another guitar player, Luis Villegas, and a cajon player, Mike Bennett. And we do my arrangements of my favorite metal songs, just for instrumental flamenco guitars, two guitars and cajon. And that's what, like, the Holy Wars came from, basically. So a lot of those arrangements I've arranged for solo guitar, and I've arranged for duo guitars. But that was the gig on the first few years of the Monsters of Rock cruise. I've done every year since 2012. So it's a really cool thing to do. Also, I've done their other cruises, the production company's other cruises, which was the Moody Blues cruises and the Cruise to the Edge, which is the band Yes. It's like a progressive rock
Yeah,
cruise. Like, they have capes.
right.
Everybody wears capes because it's like prog rock, and we're all nerds, you know. So it's it's a cool
Yeah,
it's a kind of a cool way of doing touring without having to go anywhere. You just go to where I got to go, usually Miami, get on the ship, and then every night I'm playing, but every night I get to stay in the same room, you know. So,
yeah.
and those things should hopefully be starting back up soon. And so those are my usually the kind of tours that I get out and do these days.
I see. And on your work as a YouTuber, which is how I got to know you, um, what would you say were some of the things that you did that helped you grow so much in the online YouTube thing? 'Cause you do very well with that. And how did you get into that? And do you like doing it? you know, and how would you, if you were to give, 'cause maybe I can just ask that straight up, you know, from my own interest, not even whoever's watching, my own interest, because I got into this about a year or two, 2 years ago. I've begun thinking like maybe I should, you know, invest in this and try to film and do my videos and whatever. And it's not easy, man. It's you don't just, you know, lift a crowd up, you know, without having some content or knowledge on what you're doing. So what kind of advice would you give to the folks like myself who are starting out trying to post some work and of quality and whatever? How did you cultivate your work so well?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. Well, first off, the YouTube thing, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's the coolest thing in a way, because look, if I go play a show, maybe I'm lucky if I do a cool show and there's 200 people there, right? I get my music out in front of 200 people for one night, that's great. But if I put out a video, I can get that song out, the same music, same performance out to 200 people, maybe in the first few hours. And then it's there forever. And it's like, you know, when you do a theater show, that's the thing about playing theaters, is as soon as it's gone, it just evaporates into the ether. And if you get a video from, you're about this big because they take the video from the far back of the theater, you know, and you're blurry and fuzzy and you can't use it anyway. So,
and plus you are up for making little mistakes, right? Whereas if you're playing at home, you can do as many takes as you want, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So, and when you talk about investing and, you know, really giving it a shot, really, I think that the only thing that you or anyone else would need to do is not invest money. It's just investing the time into it. You don't need anything. I haven't shot my videos on anything but an iPhone, and that's just whatever. I'm usually about 5 years behind the current model of the iPhones, and I just use an iPhone, nothing fancy, not 4K or anything. And I am, you should see my studio that I make my music at. You know, I've put out over 22 albums. I've self-released over 22 albums. And this,
wow, that's a lot.
yeah, and I don't have like this huge, you know, studio with all the lights and the sound barrier and the studio monitors on the cool little things. I mean, I have computer speakers and a laptop, bottom of the line. You know, my desk is actually this cajon right here is what I put my laptop on. My speakers, look at that speaker. I mean, that's not a studio quality speaker, but I have nice headphones to do my mixing. You know what I mean? I don't need outboard gear and all of this. I mean, this right here is what I plug my guitars into. I don't even use microphones on my flamenco guitars. They have a Fishman Classica, a dual input type of thing. So there's a mic and a pickup in all my flamenco guitars. And I found just the right EQ and blending in the past couple of years that I can use. And then I just plug my 1/4 inch to here, and it's got a USB. And I plug it into my, so I don't need a preamp, because guess what? The preamp's already in the guitar. Or I could use like a preamp plugin on in Logic, or, you know, most of the time I don't even use that. I feel like more performance than the gear you use. So that's the first part of that question.
Okay, I was gonna say sometimes in my experience I've done some things that I felt like were gonna go really well, and then they didn't. And then some things I do, sometimes I've done something that, you know, I didn't put too much time on it, but it seems like people respond a lot better than I expected. So in your experience, what are the things, how could you combine things that you like, but how can you know that, of course, I mean, sometimes you can just sell out, you know, I'm not saying, well, sometimes you could just do something that you know, obviously, you know, like playing Mario, whatever, you know, but how can you find the line, the fine line of remaining artistic, but trying to do something that you feel like the crowd is going to respond well to that.
All right. Well, I'm going to take that with the rest of that question that you had asked me before. Okay, you got to realize that, I mean, I think I put my first YouTube video out in 2007. So I've been at it quite a while. And although I have, you know, over 100,000 subscribers or whatever, that's nice for my little niche of Spanish guitar. There's not a whole lot going on YouTube for that. But if I were to compare myself to other guitar YouTubers, it's like nothing. You know what I mean? There's other guys have me. So in a lot like playing guitar, we're always striving for more. All right. We're always trying to get better, and it's never good enough. And where we're at, never good enough. But the thing is you just, everybody has different models, and some say you got to put out a video a week, a video a month. You should try and say this in your videos. You should try and do this in your videos. There are certain psychological triggers that I'm even learning about right now, like how to make a good thumbnail or whatever. But as far as it's really just being yourself and doing what you think is the coolest. You know, if I've done a few videos where I was hoping that, oh man, this is going to be awesome. This is going to get so many views, like I did when David Bowie put out his Black Star album. I thought that song was so cool. I did a flamenco version of Black Star with a flamenco dancer out in the desert. We shot it, spent a lot of time on it. It was the coolest thing I thought we had, and nobody cares. Meanwhile, I'll sit on the couch. I'll play 2 minutes of Dio Rainbow in the Dark badly, and it goes crazy. So you don't.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know, and so, but still, I wanted to play Dio. I didn't go and play fucking, you know, Pharrell or something that's popular. You know, I just wanted to. I do what I want to do. You know, and people say to me, "Oh, you should do, you know, you got to do Pantera, or you got to do, you know, you got to do Opeth, or I got to do these popular metal bands." And I'm like, they don't really, they're not my band. I'm a Judas Priest guy, you know, so I'm going to do more of that. I think you just have to be true to yourself and kind of fuck the YouTube audience, you know, there's such a huge audience. The right one will come to you eventually. That's what
nice. I love that. I love what you said, man. Nice words. Thank you for for saying that.
I say fuck anybody. I didn't, but I mean, the right ones won't be offended. You know what I mean? And it takes a while though. So have patience and just keep going. Just steadily put the stuff out. Put it out when you want to put it out. Is there a good time? Monday mornings? I don't know. I don't think there's any proof in that really is who knows? It's kind of, I mean, there's psychological triggers. If you want to just play on that, there's plenty of people that do that. But it's going to work a lot better if you're a good-looking girl wearing almost no clothes. That's what works the best. So if you're not, then you got to be like the rest of us and just do the best you can and do what you love.
Yeah. I personally stay away from, as an audience, from guys that use too much of these psychological triggers. I hate clicking into a video that you think is going to be something, and then when you get there, it's nothing of what you thought it was going to be, you know. I mean, I have not much experience to you know, say what's right or what's wrong, but speaking from the perspective of audience, of a YouTube viewer, I definitely don't appreciate the guys that try to do those clickbaits. Definitely don't get me as a as a follower. But yeah, man, this has been fun. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and some of my viewers. I definitely will be watching out for your upcoming material. Definitely love, man. Keep doing what you're doing, because it is definitely original. I can. That's the strongest thing I would compliment your work is I think it's originality. You know, and I definitely enjoy artists that, like you did, are not afraid to not have to be a copy of something, you know, but you just fearlessly made that mix of the flamenco, and I just love that. So congratulations on what you do, and I definitely appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time, man, to speak with
Oh,
me.
dude,
And
it's an honor, man. I mean, you are such a great player. You're gonna be a huge guitar YouTuber any day now, I'm sure. Once people realize just how good you are. I mean, your technique is impeccable too. I mean, you can literally play any style of music you want with your technique and be one of the best at it. I mean, it's really cool. So, um, I'll
thank you,
definitely,
man.
I definitely got you on my radar now, brother. So, thanks for setting this up. And I'm sorry that I came in late. I'm sorry to
Oh,
everybody.
no,
My fault.
nope, no problem, man. Thank you so much, man. A big hug to you, and I hope to see you in person one day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, take it easy, man. Bye.
Take it easy, bro.